WCW obviously had no champions, but this meant that every title was obviously on the line, and the viewing audience were guaranteed new champions completely across the board. So, kind of for once, WCW had a pay-per-view card that people actually wanted to see.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the original plan was coming into the pay-per-view, where this is where it gets fucking ridiculous. The original plan was to have Bischoff lead the WCW Originals, or rather the Millionaires Club, of babyfaces against Russo's New Blood. Now, the Millionaires Club were originally seen as the heels in this because Russo saw them as the establishment, and he was following the internet line of hating the guys who'd been holding people down, which was perfect, in theory. But the fans saw it the other way around, and they booed the New Blood for just being fucking... They were stupid heels. Do you know what I mean? They weren't taken as serious heels. Now, the New Blood for me was a time where it turned. It was like, we are going back to an NWO without using the words NWO.
Yeah.
Where you are trying to push fresh talent. Now, I've got a list here of every member that was in the New Blood. So I'll quickly go through this, right? And what we'll do then is we'll pick out actual New Blood. Okay? Right.
I know where this is going.
Right. David Arquette. Mike Awesome. Buff Bagwell. Bam Bam Bigelow. Booker T. Crowbar. Disco Inferno. Shane Douglas. David Flair. Goldberg. Juventud Guerrera. Bret Hart. Horace Hogan. Jeff Jarrett. Mark Jindrak. Johnny the Bull. Chris Kanyon. Billy Kidman. Conan. Ernest Miller. Rey Mysterio Jr. Sean O'Hare. Chuck Palumbo. Reno. Mike Sanders. Sean Stasiak. Rick Steiner. Scott Steiner. Lance Storm. Vampiro. Big Vito. And The Wall. Fuck you, Vince Russo, with your 30-man stables.
Enough said. Enough said.
So now let's pick on some of these, right? So this is New Blood. We are seeing this stable go against the Millionaires Club of established talent that have been around for 10 years and everybody's sick of. New Blood member Bam Bam Bigelow, who made his WWF debut in the late 80s. New Blood. We also have New Blood member Shane Douglas, who is a former World Heavyweight Champion of NWA Heavyweight Champion. We also have New Blood Bret the Hitman Hart. We have New Blood, and I'll give him this one because I suppose it needed a leader to an extent, but he goes on the list for me, Jeff Jarrett, because he's not New Blood.
No.
We've got New Blood, Scott and Rick the Steiner brothers.
Jesus Christ.
And we have got New Blood, Lance Storm. Do you know what I mean?
It's one of them things that I always hear, do you know what I mean? Still, these people today mention, obviously, the power plant. You know, it's not a dig at the power plant because it was what it was, you know what I mean? It was basically a development territory where, you know, you paid WCW or the power plants a shitload of money and you get trained by a guy called the Sarge.
Yeah. Is it Lee Parker? Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker.
Yeah. You get trained by a guy that, with all due respect, what wrestling background did he have?
Yeah, I always thought that. And did you ever see the Louis Theroux documentary?
Yeah.
Where he went to the power plant and that Buddy Lee Parker or whatever is the Sarge looked like a cunt. Do you know what I mean? You won't feel proud to say he taught me how to wrestle.
No, that's exactly. Do you know what I mean? You go for the job in WWE. Who trained you? The Sarge. Who?
All right. Who?
Sarge.
And that's exactly what Vince McMahon's response would be, I imagine.
You know,
I didn't know
credentials.
Who he was. I'd never heard of him.
You know, you're paying a shit ton of money to get trained, and with all due respect, you look at it and you look at the guys that came out of that power plant. You know, there's a lot of them that you can actually. There's a reason why they didn't make it.
There is.
There's a reason because they weren't.
They just had the look.
Trained properly.
Well, look at Goldberg.
Oh my God.
Goldberg didn't have a clue. He wasn't trained whatsoever, and he went into the power plant and came out 6 months later as a professional wrestler.
William Regal said that, didn't he?
Do you know what I mean? And what could he do? What could he actually fucking do apart from power lift? And that's all they were doing.
You know, absolutely shocking. You know, there were certain guys that came out then, and they were just, you know what I mean? They had something. Your Sean O'Hare's, your Mark Jindraks, your Chuck Palombos.
Yeah.
There was something. They had a raw commodity. There was something there to be worked with. Which is what we've seen, obviously, with the likes of O'Hare and Jindrak. You know, they had talent. It's just unfortunate that they came up at a time in WCW where there was no saving them.
Yeah.
You know, but obviously Vince McMahon's seen something in O'Hare and, you know, Palumbo. Jindrak not so much, and I have no idea why, because I was a big Jindrak fan.
Yeah, it's we were discussing this yesterday, wasn't we? It was what a different world it'd be if they decided to pull the trigger with Jindrak and stick him in Evolution over Batista. Yeah. But fortunately, we do get to see over the next few months of WCW from where we are now a lot of Jindrak and O'Hare before they start splitting them up and throwing them all together with, and as we'll see when they stick O'Hare with fucking Stasiak and Jindrak with Palumbo or whatever and split them all up. But the as a tag team, when they were part, obviously, because they were part of Mike Sanders' group, wasn't they, to begin with? Yeah. The New Blood was consisted of the Filthy Animals. It consisted of non sort of New Blood wrestlers or stable wrestlers, and then you had Mike Sanders' group, was it Natural Born Thrillers, Natural Born Killers, something like that. Unbelievable. And that had your Sean O'Hare's and your Jindraks and your Palumbos and your fucking Meats. Sean's
well, it was your guy with it was your guys that had 8-packs, not 6-packs, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's all they had apart from really. That's what it was. That's all they kind of had going for them.
It was a group about physique.
Oh, very much so.
And that was it. They were basically your equivalent to the Chippendales.
Yeah, your wrestling Chippendales. You know, definitely.
I know what we'll do. You guys can't wrestle for shit, but you look awesome.
It's okay, we'll wing it. Nobody watches anyway. It don't matter.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, but I get nervous when I'm in arenas and there's loads of people. There isn't going to be loads of people.
Well, speaking of there isn't going to be loads of people, this one should shock you. So we'll move on to the next pay-per-view, Spring Stampede 2000. So at Uncensored, we had 5,000 in attendance. At Spring Stampede, there is 12,556 people in attendance.
Wow.
Because people are excited just because we're going to see loads of new title changes. And people, they've bigged it up over the Nitros and stuff that changes are coming. It's time to look positive and feel positive about WCW. Changes are around the corner. Now, on a side note, coming into this, Hulk Hogan, he goes on a huge tirade in his autobiography where he complains about being forced to put Billy Kidman over on this pay-per-view. Well, and in the storyline. Now, my question to in this is every time he loses to Billy Kidman, he always makes sure that he comes off better in the matches. In this card, he absolutely dominates the entire match, and then he puts Bischoff in the angle over when obviously Bischoff with the chair shot. He don't put Kidman over, just lay down for him, put Kidman over. Fortunately, what I always say with Billy Kidman is we keep saying it, but nobody was watching at this time. So when Billy Kidman came to WWE, when they bought WCW out, Kidman can kind of revert back to the 1999 Billy Kidman that we all knew and loved. Because nobody remembered this Billy Kidman.
I like Billy Kidman.
I like Billy Kidman.
I didn't like the way WWE modelled him, if I'm honest. I didn't like when they chopped his hair and he had that short hair.
That was the issue. I think when he first came to WCW, he was wearing the Billy Kidman 97-98 gear.
Yeah.
And it was coming out exactly the same gimmick and everything. But it was like, you look at Vince and he's like, no, that didn't work for me. I didn't make that. Chop his hair, stick him in pants. Do you know what I mean?
It was almost like he didn't want anything left of WCW.
No.
You know what I mean? Let's give them all new gimmicks. Let's basically show them that they're shit.
Well, why do you think?
I disagreed with that. I didn't like the way Vince went about business, and because there was guys in WWE that, in all honesty, weren't fit to lace some of these guys' boots.
True, very true. And why do you think when it come to the invasion angle, the only guys that they'd invest in were the guys that were on shit contracts and wasn't really good in the ring because we've got to make our guys look the best. Do you know what I mean? Look, you come to fucking Survivor Series and it's practically WWE guys versus WWE guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they weren't willing to invest in your Hogans and your Flairs and your Nashes because they wouldn't be just fucking rolled down and be walked over. But your Stasiaks and your fucking Shane Helmses, who were on minimal money at WCW and thought, fuck, we've got nothing saved in the bank. So I mean, we're screwed. We're going out of business. They'll happily do the job.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw with the whole Invasion pay-per-view. But that's a year down the line. We're on Spring Stampede. Card opens with a tag team title tournament match, which originally was the Mamalukes of Vito and Johnny the Bull against Team Package of Ric Flair and Lex Luger. Now, this is the first card of the pay-per-view of the new era of pushing the new blood. So Vince Russo, to make it Vince Russo, turns the match into a 4-on-2 handicap match, including the Harris brothers on the side of the Mamalukes. And Team Package still win. All the heels, they got X-Pac boos. Everybody loved Flair, and everybody still hates Lex Luger. This match, all this match was Flair to get the win. And this is 40-odd-year-old Ric Flair in a new era of pushing new fucking blood. I think I've found the issue. I don't think we need to carry on with this podcast anymore, Dave. I found the problem. On the first match of the fucking pay-per-view of the new era, I've found the problem. They've just had Ric Flair and Lex Luger win a match where there's two more people. And these just aren't two people. These are 7-foot Harris brothers.
Okay, the Undertaker's cousins.
And they still lost. So moving on, next match of the card, we have Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South, against Mancow Muller, who was a radio DJ at the time. Hart was calling him a Howard Stern wannabe. It was their play on, look, we've got celebrities on our card. Wow. Enough said about that, the better. Moving on, it's the US title tournament. We have got The Wall against Scott Steiner. The thing is, Scott Steiner, he comes out to the old Steinerland music, thus kind of trying to make him like a babyface. But they're both from the New Blood. Now, the idea was that this would be the future of WCW, get rid of the old guys, and then have the up-and-coming talent against each other. And Steiner gets the victory via DQ in 3 minutes and 53 seconds in a big clusterfuck that ended up with like the Wall putting a ref fucking through a table, and it was proper Vince Russo. But so far we've had a handicap match, a celebrity match, and a table spot DQ match in the opening 3 matches of the new era. Up next, we have the US title tournament in an ECW dream match of Mike Awesome versus Bam Bam Bigelow. Now, in the dream, it would have been amazing. In reality, it was fucking dire. Do you know, this was Mike Awesome making his debut right, after appearing on Nitro attacking Kevin Nash. ECW chants throughout the crowd because, like I said, we've got an ECW dream match. Mike Awesome got the victory with the Awesome Splash in 3 minutes and 59 seconds. So it's very, very short. But if you compare this to like an ECW showcase match where you'd have Awesome against Tanaka, and we spoke about this on the Max Wrestling this week gone, just when we recorded, in the summer of 98, and then they had the match at One Night Stand, and you realise that WCW is fucking useless, right? You had 4 minutes, this was a 4-minute match, Russo booked what he thought was a dream match, changed the participants, had the original match return, showcased a new wrestler in his debut, then booked the finish that involved one of the guys spending too long dancing, all in 4 minutes to try and replicate what ECW did, and got it fucking terribly wrong.
Desperation.
Absolutely. Moving on. Tag team title tournament. Harlem Heat 2000. We're fucking here again. Shane Douglas and Buff Bagwell. As we touched on a bit earlier, do you know what I mean? You are pushing. This is a new era, and you've got the tag team of the New Bloods, Shane Douglas and Buff fucking Bagwell against Ahmed fucking Johnson and Stevie fucking Ray.
Unreal.
Absolutely.
Do you know what the sad things is, right? I remember watching a documentary on Booker T. Obviously, Booker T wasn't a very, very good boy, was he, when he was younger?
No.
And he knew little and nothing about wrestling. And it was his brother, Stevie Ray, that actually got him into the business and got him a job. And you look at it and you think, how the fuck did Stevie Ray
yeah. He's
get
terrible.
a job?
Do you know, like
You
in
know what I mean?
majority of tag teams, you've always had like a big man, little man. It always kind of works, but he's a lump of a big man. He's
Yeah.
not very good in the ring. Not very good at all.
No, there's definitely the success. The success was down to Booker, you know. And I don't always, you know, I never gave Booker T credit. But you look at, you know, for a guy that was so green, and you know his career. All right, now he's got a pretty lengthy career, but it's still nothing on the most people.
No.
I think he didn't come into WCW until was it 95?
5, 6, yeah. And if you think
So
he's one of only many who's still around now. Granted
exactly.
in a very small capacity, but
Exactly.
he's still
But
around now.
you look at some of the guys he's been in the ring with,
Oh
and
yeah,
some of the feuds he's had. His feud with Chris Benoit was absolutely fucking phenomenal.
yeah, over the US title.
Do you know what I mean? And that was a guy that he didn't go the freaking power plant and pay stupid amounts of money to get trained. He worked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He listened. He was taking stuff in through guys like your Chris Benoit's, your Ric Flairs. You know what I mean? He listened and watched. You know,
Definitely.
freaking
Definitely. Couldn't agree anymore.
Kudos to Booker T.
Totally agree. And speaking of Booker T and his brothers, they lose to the New Bloods, Shane Douglas and Buff Bagwell. Moving on, we have a couple of US title tournament matches. Booker T defeats Sting and Vampiro. Sorry, my bad. Sting defeats Booker T. Of course, we're not pushing the new talent. And we had Vampiro against Billy Kidman. And Kidman... Vampiro gets the win. So moving on, why aren't you pushing Billy Kidman for starters? I know we've just spoke about him, how fucking epic he was. And why aren't you pushing Booker T? Do you know what I mean? Sting and... Granted, Sting and Vampiro, as we see in a couple of episodes, a couple of pay-per-views down the line, they have their epic blood matches and graveyard matches and all that bullshit. But surely the winners, the losers should have won them 2 matches.
The reason, right, and I think I'm looking at this and the way we're talking, and I'm thinking the reason WCW went under is because they didn't take the right, how can you put it, risks.
Yeah, they weren't willing to run. They weren't willing to run with a wrestler.
If they'd have took risks on people like your Billy Kidmans, your Rey Mysterios, you know, your Juventud Guerreros, your Eddie Guerreros, you know, even you look at your Chris Benoit's, these guys like Chris Benoit's didn't get a heavyweight championship until WCW was dying.
Exactly.
Dead. Already dead. And these were guys that should have been carrying that company.
Because your big men,
they could wrestle.
Give them a chance. Your big men would just not give them a chance.
World Championship Wrestling. Look at the last initial.
Oh, that's
wrestling.
Never stood for anything for years with WCW, and that was the biggest problem.
It's like WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, second initial. There's a reason it's called wrestling, because you give guys that can wrestle the opportunities. No, it didn't, because they kind of thrive off entertainment value. Your John Cena's, kids will love him. Can't wrestle for shit, but kids will love him. And that was the same with WCW. The same people, time after time after time again. But they assume he's Hulk Hogan. People will love this guy forever. You know, your Randy Savages. There was a massive difference between Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. One could wrestle, one was entertaining, the other one was just a piece of shit. You know?
Couldn't agree anymore.
Honestly,
that's
you know what I mean?
And that's it. But Hulk Hogan was always the guy that they went with. Savage was never number one.
Well, that was the reason why Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan didn't see eye to eye, right? I love it when Hulk Hogan. I see I'm going on a rant here. I love it when people speak highly about Hulk Hogan, because I think, right, listen, you're these sheep-like people who, you know, watch a few wrestling shows, listen to a few stories, and you assume this guy is a god in the business. He's a god in the business because of how he looked and what his name was. You know, no one had seen anything like Hulk Hogan, you know, in that time. And it was little kids, the John Cena effect now, that bought into this. Hulkamania is running wild, brother. And it was people like...
I bought in
when
I was like fucking 6 or 7, 8 years old. I bought in fucking mega.
And there was people like, Randy Savage that were sat there watching this happen. And people may say he was bitter. He had a fucking right to be bitter.
Oh, of course.
He had a right to be bitter, man. Go back and fucking watch fucking early, you know what I mean? Early WWE. Go back and watch fucking mid WCW. Watch Randy Savage. You know what I mean? You could watch a library of Randy Savage matches. Ricky Steamboat. Possibly still, I still stay to this day one of the probably one of the in my top 5, easy.
Oh, I think in any
of all time.
I think in any
Right?
It's got to be.
And you go and watch that guy, and it is very, very much the same thing now. Randy Savage, the Megamaniacs, it is very much the Hardy Boys effect. Now it's shoes on the other foot. Now it's Jeff that's in Matt's shadow. You know, Jeff needs Matt. I wouldn't say so much so now, because it's going, obviously, because they're back in WWE, yeah? Jeff definitely needed Matt in TNA.
Oh, definitely.
Because wrestling, when you said about, I think they were all about the broken gimmick, and I was just like, listen, Jeff Hardy will sell more freaking shirts as Jeff Hardy in WWE, because the guy is an icon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's an icon. He probably hasn't made the kind of how could you put it, himself an icon for the right reasons, jumping off a ladder and almost killing himself. But people think that's cool. You know. And what I was saying is, Hulk Hogan, basically for me, is one of the most selfish, arrogant, vindictive people. He's the type of guy that would go into the office and stitch someone up and cost someone their job. Randy Savage knew this. Randy Savage didn't like Hogan. And then when Randy Savage died, Hulk Hogan played that perfect, oh, I'm so sad, me and Randy, we were best friends. No, you weren't.
Yeah, you were far
from it. No, you weren't.
Yeah.
He couldn't stand you. Ric Flair can't stand you. He respects you, but he can't stand you.
That's it.
You know? And it's the same with these freaking, you know, if people just need to wake up, man. The guy showed his true colours, man, with the racist thing, and people like, no, he didn't say it. He said he didn't say it. Of course, he said he didn't say it. He got caught out and he shit himself.
He's never going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, I did, yeah," because I fucking meant it.
You know, he called his daughters a fella and nigger, and that's exactly what he did. The fact that his daughter doesn't speak to him now clearly says it all.
There you go. Right, let's park the bus on Hogan for a few minutes, because we will be returning very, very soon. Right, so next match on the card is a 6-way cruiserweight. Now, you want to call it cruiserweight, but it had people like Chris Candido in it. Shane Helms, Shannon Moore, Lash LaRue, who I loved, by the way, Juventud Guerrera, Chris Candido, Prince Iakea, and Crowbar. What a fucking clusterfuck of crap.
5 minutes.
Absolutely. 5 minutes and 4 seconds. Candido gets the win.
5 minutes.
Moving on. Do you know what I mean? That's not even a minute per wrestler. WCW tag titles. We have got Team Package, Ric Flair and Luger, against Shane Douglas and Buff Bagwell. So this is the ultimate New Blood against Millionaires Club match, where combined age of about 170 or something like that. Obviously, you knew who was going to get the win. New Blood, Shane Douglas and Buff Bagwell, with an assist from Chronic, Adam Bomb and Crush from the New Gen era.
I loved Chronic.
Oh, fucking Chronic. I despise them. And obviously Vince Russo gets involved. He puts the referee's shirt on himself and counts the pin. 8.5 minutes. Yeah, I'm very surprised, actually. I was very surprised that they didn't go with Flair and Luger. But it's worse of two evils, isn't it, really?
Oh, we've been shocked then.
Yeah.
We've been shocked, but I just said WCW didn't take risks.
So then we move on to our US title match, Scott Steiner versus Sting. Scott Steiner gets the victory, even though it should have been a DQ after a ref bump. So Scott Steiner now takes another belt over to the New Blood in 5 minutes and 31. And then we get to a main event of Jeff Jarrett and Diamond Dallas Page, where you get the big heel turn from Kimberly Page. She bashed Page over the head with a guitar, and Bischoff finally lets the ref go as he's holding the ref to count the pin in 15 minutes, bang on. So you've basically got all the scumbags come out at the end, Jarrett, Steiner, Russo, Bischoff, Candido, Sonny, Douglas, Bagwell, All the titles are now in the new blood. And would you believe that was Russo's 9th appearance of the pay-per-view?
He loved to be on telly, didn't he?
And then 8 days later, after the pay-per-view, DDP wins the title back off Jeff Jarrett. And then a day later, David Arquette wins it on Thunder. And now it turns fucking interesting. So before we get to Slamboree, let's focus a little bit on that great episode of Thunder with that abysmal spear by David Arquette. And as it stands at the minute, your current WCW champion is fucking Mr. Courtney Cox.
Fucking can't bear the guy.
Do you remember it? I know obviously it's one of them that it's known.
I try not to.
Because I can't quite remember it being in mainstream over here. I don't know if it ever made it over the States or not, but like, for an example, I remember when Mike Tyson knocked out Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14. That was on in the Sun newspaper the next day.
It was to promote the film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was to promote Ready to Rumble, wasn't it? It was Ready to Rumble?
Well, Ready to Rumble, which I don't think wasn't half bad. Yeah.
No.
It did.
It's not bad. It was better than that shit. No old bad.
It made like $25 million. Did Ready to Rumble. Yeah. So let's move on. It's May 2000 Slamboree. Now this was the first pay-per-view held in the Kemper Arena since the unfortunate passing of Owen Hart, which must have been difficult for a lot of wrestlers. You know that they've probably worked for WWE or that they were friends with, or like obviously you've got your Canadians on the roster. It must have been difficult to wrestle in that arena. We open up with a cruiserweight title match. Now Chris Candido defeats the Artist, so we're getting a lot of Prince Iaukea, but it's exactly what I remember. I don't remember him winning a fucking match. He was the jobber. He was a jobber with a gimmick. Then the next match on the card was the Hardcore title. Terry Funk defeated Norman Smiley. So Terry Funk. So we've gone from over the last couple of pay-per-views. We've had fucking Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs with the Hardcore title, and now Terry Funk's back as the champion. So way to go for pushing young talent. Next match on the card.
Oh, this is gonna make me. This just makes me angry.
Next match on the card. Fucking Meat defeats Kurt Hennig in a Mr. Perfect versus Mr. Perfect match, I'd say.
Why?
I think we've hit that point in time where WCW don't need to justify why. They just do it.
Kurt Hennig, man.
They just do it. But this is Kurt Hennig at a bad... He shouldn't be wrestling. Do you know what I mean? You had the 99 fucking West Texas Rednecks, however they were called.
Yeah.
And that kind of was a point in time where you didn't want to see... I only want to see Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's the only gimmick that I want to see Kurt Hennig do. I don't want to see him do something.
No, they wouldn't let him. Do you know what? I always say he's probably one of the most underrated guys never to win. You know, the big one.
Yeah. I think the thing with Mr. Perfect, I always put him in the same category with Jake the Snake. They were bigger than the world title.
Yeah.
They didn't need a run to establish them as the fucking best.
No, exactly.
They didn't need a run.
You know, it's I look at it and I think, you know, if we're gonna go into this one now.
Yeah.
You can have as many world titles as you like, right? And there's only certain guys that can get away with being multiple-time world champions. Your Triple H's, your Ric Flairs, you know, the man that just makes me totally angry that's got his 16 titles, and we know he's going to break Ric Flair's record of 17. That's 17 identified titles. WWE don't actually recognise Flair's actual record of 25 world titles. Okay, so Mr. Cena's got a while to go yet.
He'll never get there.
You know, I look at it and I think...
I can see him beating the 17, but I don't think we'll see a time where he'll 19, 20, 21. I think 17 will be the last.
You basically said it. Like you your Jake the Snakes, your Hennigs. They didn't need that sort of thing because we can talk about them now. And when you talk about guys like that, you talk with a smile on your face.
Exactly.
You know, because you know they didn't need multiple titles because you know they went to work and they gave you 4-star, 5-star matches. You know, and it's the fact that you talk about them and you say them guys should, you know, have won the big one. most underrated guys.
No, I
you know
totally
what I mean?
agree. I totally agree. He should have had a title, but
Steamboat's another one.
Steamboat's another one. But Steamboat did have glory in WCW, didn't he? He did have a world title in WCW.
Randy Savage.
Yeah.
Should have had more than what he got.
Yeah, should have had a lot more.
Easily.
But obviously, you've got all this stuff with did it or did he not with Stephanie, and that obviously probably hampered him having another
I believe
multiple
he did.
world
I believe
title
he
runs.
did.
Right, so moving on.
Ted DiBiase's another one.
Oh, Ted DiBiase. Obviously, he had that infamous moment where Andre the Giant won the title and then obviously passed it to him, but he never had his actual run. But again, was Ted DiBiase in that category where he was world renowned before he because you got to think at that period of time, Vince McMahon, he purchased all these territories' top boys and put them in his mid card. So you had your Perfects, your Rick Rudes. Do you know what I mean? They were all in your mid card with your DiBiases, and it's like he never saw them as world title because they were just his mid card. But yeah, so speaking of mid card, United States title, Scott Steiner defeated Captain fucking Rection. Captain Erection. I did love it because what you got to think is that I was around about, what was I, in 2000, maybe 15, 16? So it's fucking brilliant. So it was perfect. I was their fucking target audience. It was hilarious. All right, and then moving on, Mike Awesome and Chris Kanyon ending in no contest because it turned into a big fucking clusterfuck. Kevin Nash, Kidman, Vampiro, Candido, Douglas, Ric Flair, Sting all got involved. The total package defeated Buff Bagwell in a singles match. Shane Douglas defeated Ric Flair in a singles match. Sting defeated Vampiro in a singles match. Hulk Hogan with fucking Horace Hogan defeated Billy Kidman. So that's Billy Kidman straight away. We've now seen him twice. And granted, he got the victory in the previous match, but that was down to interference and shenanigans. And this match involved Horace Hogan. Eric Bischoff was a special guest referee. And why didn't Billy Kidman get the victory?
Hulk Hogan.
And to prevent you from going off on another rant, we'll just leave it there. And then in the main event, what the match was all building up for, it's your Ready to Rumble triple cage match for the WCW World Heavyweight title. Jeff Jarrett gets the victory, defeating David Arquette and Diamond Dallas Page. Now, get ready for this.